Tap the screen, tap the screen, tap the screen, ladies and gentlemen. Tap the screen, tap the screen, tap the screen. Come on now, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Bakangaland. Tap the screen, share the live. Tap the screen and share the live. Salutations, ladies and gentlemen. I hope everyone's having a great night. It's another day in Bakangaland with a small spice to our topic. Of course, we maintain that God is imaginary. But today we will be asking questions to religious people. Our primary topic tonight is, why do you believe in hellfire? Please, if you come up, go straight to the point, address the topic at hand. If you come up and you don't talk about the topic at hand, I'm so sorry, I don't have the time tonight. I will drop you, okay? Do not send your request if you agree with me. Only come up if you disagree. I will appreciate that. Try to engage in a manner of, how do I say? Oh man, I don't want to use the word respectful because I sometimes I'm the most disrespectful. So just come up with some good energy. Let me put it that way. In the manner of saying, as a figure of speech, come up with some good energy, and let's take it like that, one person at a time. Why do you believe in hellfire? I think you believe in hellfire because you've fallen victim to shame, guilt, and fear. You've been domesticated. You've been intimidated, indoctrinated with toxic ideas that it escapes you that those ideas themselves were conjured up by the minds of men. I'm here tonight to help you overcome your fear of hell. Is that so? Yeah, Cindy. I said do not send your request if you agree, Cindy. Why are you sending your request?
You think I agree with you, right? All
Well,
right,
if
okay.
you don't agree, I want you to stick to disagreement only. Then
I'm disagreeing and agreeing.
no, do not do that. You can't play both teams
Okay,
tonight.
okay, okay, okay. I am disagreeing. Okay, let me just stick to that part of me today.
What
That
exactly are you disagreeing about then? Because I said, why do you believe in hellfire? Do you believe in hellfire?
yes, but I have an explanation. So if you would permit me, if you would permit me.
Look, man. Okay, go ahead.
Actually, the way hellfire concept is, whoever believes in it must never say that it is already prepared, ready. It's not existing now. It's not existing now. Are you with me? It's not existing now. So if you ask me now, is there hellfire anywhere? I will say no. Will there be hellfire? As a matter of faith, and which we all know is controversial, anything based on faith rather than knowledge. I mean, we all know what the result is. So it's like, it just accept something without necessarily having any logical explanation or reason for that. So basically, yeah. But for now, there is no hellfire anywhere as far as I'm concerned.
Cindy.
Yeah.
I I really admire your ability to twist words. Cause in a nutshell, you're just saying what I'm saying. And then
Yeah.
when you say that you think there will be hellfire as a matter of faith, what you're saying is that you don't really know. You
Yeah.
just imagine That's not the
Yeah.
equivalent of seriously believing in hellfire. That's not a sufficient justification for you to even be on the side of someone who believes in hellfire. That's more like,
Belief,
at the very best, agnostic about the idea of hellfire. You know, you're not a proponent of
belief
hellfire.
itself, belief itself.
So anyway,
No,
let me ask you
belief
this way. So
itself.
when you think of hellfire, what exactly do you think? What kind of place do you think it is?
I think of it as something that can't be verified now, but
Yeah,
is
yeah. I'm not
there
talking. I'm
to.
not talking about simply ideologically. I mean, in the literal sense, what is hellfire?
Okay,
Whatever,
okay,
hellfire you might believe in one way or another, what is it?
okay, all right. Permit me to say that hellfire concept contradicts the essence of religion itself if one is not careful about it.
Why
Because
are you playing linguistic gymnastics with me, brother? I want you to describe without using
I
too
can't
many words.
describe
Exactly.
I can't
Okay. So so
I
so
can't
when
describe
so
what
when
is
you say hellfire, you're just talking about it ideologically.
is imaginary.
Okay, good. The type of people I want to target tonight and I want to confront tonight are those who literally think in the literal sense that when a human being dies, there
Okay,
is a literal
I am
sense
not
of
the
their
type.
essence that goes to a place with burning flames. And I want such people to justify why they will conjure up such an idea in their head to the extent where it actually has an impact on their state of mind. You
Okay,
know,
I
yeah.
am not that. I'm not that kind of
So
person.
so if that's not the case, Cindy, then unfortunately today's gonna be one of those days because I
It's
don't have too
okay.
much
It's
time
okay.
today,
It's
my
okay.
brother
It's okay.
Cindy. But
It's
like I
okay.
said,
All right.
I
All right.
admire your ability to manipulate words.
All right. It's okay.
Cindy, Professor,
Yeah, all
thank you
right.
so much, my brother, as always.
All right. All right. Yeah.
Tap the screen, ladies and gentlemen. Please, let's get to 20,000 likes. Let's get to 20,000 likes, then we can bring up the next guest. Send your request if you believe in hellfire. And come and tell us, why do you believe in hellfire? As it continues, I state that God is imaginary, as in, God is simply ideological. It's an idea which does not materialize in a literal sense as far as the real world is concerned. It's exclusive to the mind, just like all other fictitious, mythological, and religious things. So, yes, you can believe in God simply as an idea, as long as you know that it simply is an idea which carries no relevance in the real world beyond whatever rituals you've prescribed for yourself. It's a sad reality, but it's true. So, in the literal sense, there is no governor, there is no ruler, there is no king, there is no lord that governs our reality. Those are all ideas conjured up by the minds of men to substitute for whatever infirmities they might be suffering from at the mental level. That's why every man imagines their own. So if you've never been on my show before, in a nutshell, that is what I think of God. And that is the position I take. And I insist that if you think that God, in the literal sense, is a real person that created you, you have been scammed, domesticated, and abused. Tap the screen, tap the screen, tap the screen, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get this going. I want to make it a marathon style. So when you come up, if you're not able to go straight to your point, I'm sorry, we will not be able to endure in conversation for as long as you might desire. So tap the screen, tap the screen, tap the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, get a pen and paper because you're going to learn a lot tonight. Especially, you should write down a lot of what these religious people are going to say. What's up, bro? Hello?
Yeah,
I can barely hear you, man. You need to adjust your volume or work something. Your microphone is not microphoning, if that's even a word.
one.
I cannot hear you, brother.
I can hear you
Well, what's the point of you
now.
hearing me and I can't hear you audibly?
Can you hear me?
No, sir. It seems like your hand is on your microphone. Your microphone is. Somebody has tampered with your microphone. It might be possessed
No,
with the
nobody has
demon
tampered
of
with my microphone.
muteness. Huh?
Nobody has tampered with my microphone.
Yeah, if nobody did, then send your request and send it back again because I cannot hear you, my bro. Next guest.
Oh,
Sorry, y'all. Come up, go straight to the point. Make sure you do not have any technical difficulties. Why do you believe in hellfire? Essay.
Because it is stated in the Bible.
That's the only reason why you believe in hellfire.
Yeah, because God wrote it.
You do not find that suspicious that you have to rely on a book written thousands of years by people who themselves could not have proven that they could verify that that is such a place, because obviously you have to die and go there to know it's real, right? The people who wrote about hellfire, were they dead before they wrote about hellfire, or did they write about it after they died?
We don't need to die before knowing if a fire is real or not.
So how can
First
you
of
know?
all,
How can you know if
first of
hellfire is real or
all,
not if you're not dead?
yeah. Okay, first of all, this is what we should ask. Now, is there God? If there is, and he inspired men to write the book, that in there is true.
Brother, have you ever heard about the word nonsense?
Nonsense?
Yeah,
I've heard of.
have you heard of that word nonsense?
Yes.
That's exactly what you
Yeah.
just said. Every word that came out of
No.
your mouth right now is very consistent with nonsense. Listen, somebody writes a
Okay.
book, okay?
Let me ask.
Hold up,
Can I
hold
ask
up.
you a question?
Somebody writes a book. If you don't have a way to physically verify the things written in that book, you cannot conclude by no means that it's true with any level of intelligence other than just blindly following. That makes you easy to scam. You understand, bro? So you can't tell me you believe in hellfire simply because it's a book. But if that's what you choose to believe, if I were you, I would examine my
Because it is
mental
the God
state.
of the Bible.
Say that again.
Because I saw that you wrote in your this thing, God is an imaginary.
Have you ever met God in
So which
person?
means I've not met
So
God in person.
everything you know about God, you've had to imagine thus far. Since the day you were born, since the first day you heard the word God,
No,
everything you know about
no.
it, you've had to imagine.
It's not imagined. I've heard his voice.
Listen, you heard the voice of God in your head or in your ears?
I've heard the voice of God in my heart.
You know,
God speaking with an audible
that's
voice.
physically impossible. Human beings don't hear voices in their hearts. Your heart
Now
only pumps blood. Your heart does not have ears, brother. Think very carefully about what you're saying. Think very, very carefully. I want you to think with your highest level of intelligence. Activate your brain right now. Take your brain to the highest level of thinking. Human beings do not hear voices in their hearts, and even in your mind, you do not hear voices. Every thought that is in your head is a product of your own doing. That's just basic human functionality. You need to be honest enough with yourself to not
do you
deceive
have a
yourself.
spirit? Do you have let me ask you this question. Do you have a spirit?
Not in the sense that you would think. I don't think that the spirit is something. The spirit is just an idea that describes our behavior and character. So a person has a physical body, and then you can refer to that person by pointing out their physical body. But you can also refer to someone by talking about how that person behaves, that person's characteristics, that person's attitude. So the word spirit is literally a combination of human behavior, human attitude. That's why when you read the Bible, you don't find the word attitude in it. That's what they meant by spirit. But the spirit is not a tangible, literal thing. No, it's just an idea. As far as your real form, there is no spirit.
Can I ask you this question?
If it's
Who
relevant
placed the
and consistent with our conversation.
Yeah.
If the question you're
it's
about to ask
consistent
me
with
is consistent and relevant.
Yeah. Who placed the moon in the sky where it is?
Brother, I don't mean to insult your intelligence, but only a madman gets up and asks that type of question. What makes you think that it has to be a no, relax. What makes you think it has to be a who? Do we even see any who? What would make you? You didn't even say what put the moon in the sky. You didn't even say how did the moon. Hold up. You didn't even say how did the moon get to the sky. You say who? My question
How
is
did the moon
who?
get to the sky?
Go to school and study science, brother. That information is out there and it's free for all.
No, it didn't come out there through the Big Bang.
Again,
No.
brother, listen to me. Listen to me. If you want to deny information that is verified and checked and balanced, that is backed by facts and evidence, that's your personal problem. I will not argue with you based on your lack of education. I will only argue with
No,
you
no,
when you
no,
bring me.
no.
Hold on, brother, listen. When you bring me facts to the table, I will conversate with you. We will reason together. But when you become so mad that you don't know basic reality, okay?
So why do you believe?
Understanding that there is no who involved behind the heavenly bodies is like understanding 1+1 in
Okay, why do
arithmetic.
you believe? Why do you believe? Why do you believe in what has been written down with fact? Why did you believe it? People wrote it down.
The reason why you listen and you read things that are written down backed by facts is because it's verifiable, it's understandable, and it's practical. It doesn't fall in the realm of fiction, mythology, and make believe. You know, this information is gathered not based on people's sentiment and personal experiences, but based on research, experiments that are done. Formulas are formulated, shared around. Everybody does the formula. We get the same results. So we come to a common conclusion that because we have used this same method, practically applying these principles, and we have gotten these results, then this thing is so. Period. That is how education works. That's how development works. That's how human beings have achieved progress. And that in of itself sits on a solid foundation, indisputable and irrefutable by religion or any religion mindset. Do not confuse the way you look at your religion with the way you look at our educational system, especially when it comes to science. I'm not saying science is perfect, but science has a very efficient way of separating information.
Science most time is inaccurate.
Listen to me. That is besides the point. You first have to know the science which is accurate before you can say that science is inaccurate. If you don't have any type of credential, if you have not invested any specific time, if you cannot even tell me what science is, don't you dare open your mouth and say that science is inaccurate. What is science? Let me ask you a question. What is science?
I said most times science is inaccurate.
That is false.
That was the English I use.
That is false. Science is accurate most of the time. And science doesn't claim to be perfect. So science always leaves room for error, rooms to be corrected, so that when future generations come, they can make corrections. Your perception of science is greatly flawed. I will not talk to you about science because I don't think you're skilled enough. I will simply ask you the question, what is science?
I don't know what is science. Can you tell me what is science?
No, sir. Thank you for your time. Go to school.
Yeah. You.
Hello, sir.
Why do you believe in hellfire?
Okay. See, I'm a Muslim, so why I believe in the hellfire is because I believe in consequences. See, if an evil serial mass murdering killer was to die without any consequences and go into the grave, and such as maybe like a good person like you who's giving charity, who's caring, cares about the community, tries to make his neighbors happy, and you pass away, I don't believe that you and the serial killer mass murdering evil person is going to end in the same place. And there's no
we do.
afterlife.
As far as reality
So
is
I believe
concerned, this is beyond what I'm about to say is beyond belief. As a matter of fact, as a matter of reality, me and that horrible person, we end up in the same place, in the ground, dead. That's it. Beyond that, everything else is just mythology, make-believe stories that human beings invent to make themselves feel good. As far as the real world, what we can confirm it doesn't matter how good you are or how bad you are, we end up dead, 6 feet deep, or like powder. One way or another, we end up as dust. That is a fact. Okay. That line, we can draw that line there, and then anything beyond that line, now you're going into the realm of cuckoo gaga. And everybody is free to have their own cuckoo gaga.
No, I can understand where you're coming from, but obviously before your and my existence, there were many, many, many human beings on Earth who were attempting to find God in their own path. They're finding their way to salvation, right? They were trying to reach the Almighty. They understood that there is a greater being who created all of this universe and
No,
stars and so on.
they did
Right?
not understand as much as they
Yeah.
invented
No,
that
that's fine. But
idea.
like I said, some people were guided somewhat. Some were praying to the stars, some were praying to men, idols, whatever. My understanding is that why is there hellfire? Because I believe ultimately there is also a good place for the good people. I don't believe that
I can
eventually
respect I can respect
life is short.
I can
So
respect
it's a
your good
test.
I can respect your good intentions,
Right.
but good intentions do not justify false belief about things which are not proven to be true simply because it's motivated by good intent. So I can
Right. So you're
understand
the
the
kind of person,
empathy, your
you love
sense of
facts, right? Yeah.
justice, but there is no prison for human beings after they die. Or
No, that's good.
there is no
You're a
reward for
logical
human
man,
beings
right?
after they die, as far as our real world is concerned. That's why I want you to justify in real terms
No,
why
no,
do
no.
you
I
believe in
understand.
hellfire? Or are you saying to me that your
You're a
belief in
logical
hellfire
man,
is
right?
okay, answer this question directly. Are you saying that your belief in hellfire is purely sentimental, nothing beyond that?
It's based on the teachings of the prophets that were
Yeah, it doesn't
chosen.
matter which prophets don't go to hellfire, because the way a prophet, no matter what a prophet teaches to you, based on how hellfire is described, you have to die, go there, find out before you come back, and no
Course, yeah,
prophet ever did that.
100%. No one's gonna
Okay,
like I said,
so we know that
yeah.
the prophets invented those stories as a way to cater to people's good intentions, like you said, justice. Because unfortunately the world is not fair. There's gonna be bad people who feel like they're getting away with it, even though the reality is that there are some bad people who are gonna get away with all the bad things they do, and there's some good people who will suffer despite all the good they do. That is the
Like,
irony of reality.
okay, let me ask you a question because you seem like a person who's knowledgeable and has logic. You're from which country, if you don't mind me asking, or you don't want to? Do you mind sharing?
I don't mind sharing, but I fail to
Okay, no,
understand
no, don't
how
share it, don't share it, don't share
it will
it.
be
See, I'm
relevant.
from Asia, yeah. But like in my country, there's something called black magic. I don't wanna go off the topic, but I just want to say, look, something like under unseen. Do you believe in that? Do you believe that someone can cast a spell or do black magic or do the evil eye on a person? Do you believe in this at all?
So truth is not based on belief. So I do not believe anything really, but I understand that such things are superstition.
No, no, no. Okay, look, from other than UK and America, in our countries, foreign third world countries, there are people who do certain things, and people witness certain things, like
Brother,
possession.
with all
Yeah,
due
have you ever heard
respect,
of a possession or expert?
with all due respect, you've just been scammed. You see, man, in ancient times, knowledge was hidden. Most knowledge was occult. Let me tell you the story of humanity. When human beings began to accumulate knowledge, knowledge was power. And your ability to hide the trick, to hide your power, was what actually made you powerful. So when someone did something which was probably a product of a skill, a talent, they will hide the secrets of their trade, the secrets of their skill. To those who don't understand what's happening, they only see the results of such skill and talent. So they concluded that such things were supernatural, where indeed it's simply just occult, hidden knowledge. It's kind of like what they say today we use the word classify. Knowledge was always classified. If I knew how to how do I put it? Make fertilizer to make plants grow in the desert, right? My knowledge was classified. If I knew how to make steel, out of iron, ores, mixing it with other ores, my knowledge was classified. If I knew how
But
to
you
read the
mentioned iron.
stars, my knowledge was
You mentioned
classified.
iron. You mentioned iron. So iron comes from, it's not an earthly source, right? It comes from science. Science that says the iron is something that has come from the outer world, right? So this is something that is something considered by science today, and it's also mentioned in the
Don't
scripture. Now, I'm not
don't
saying that the
jump. Don't
scripture.
listen. Listen.
I'm not jumping. But don't you see this as a something extraordinary? That's something
No,
that we have
it's
on
not,
earth.
it's not extraordinary, because human beings have been messing with iron for a long time. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that people back in the day were completely stupid, okay? Because science has always been around. The thing is that science was always intermingled with religious beliefs, and religious people always went and got their power from science anyways. When they will master a specific scientific skill, they will claim to be supernatural power in order to deceive the people. That's how Muhammad convinced a bunch of people that an eclipse was him splitting the moon. You know what I'm saying? That's how there's just gonna be a lot of things like that. Who knows? Who knows? Jesus might have been the first person to have powder Kool-Aid. So he convinced a bunch of people that he turned water to wine. You know, this across all human cultures. Human beings have always been very talented. And you know, adversity actually brings out the best out of human beings in terms of our creativity with alternative ways of doing things. We live in a world where information flows and we learn a lot from each other that we take for granted. A lot of the simple things we do, from just the roads we drive, the cars we do, the phones we use. You don't realize that back in the day, if you knew how to do just half of this stuff, you were considered amazing. You know, people will almost glorify you. But we're so bored today. We worship athletes. We worship athletes because we worship a guy who can dunk. Because we don't have anything else that impresses us. Everything else that would have been impressing us is so common and we're so used to it. You know what I'm saying, bro? Back in the day, bro, if you could even run like Usain Bolt, you were gonna be called the god of lightning. You know, if you could dunk like LeBron James, you're gonna call the god of hammer. You know, that's how human beings used to be. Now, the Catholic Church has always been involved with science. The Arabs have always been involved with science. So we know where they go and get their real knowledge from. So don't hit me with that, oh, this has science in it. Of course it will. Because you're not gonna have any real power anyways unless you follow some form of scientific method. The problem is that it's mixed in with a bunch of superstitions and lies to keep people subject, to keep those whom you're talking to and teaching to not even desire to learn that science. Because if they learn it, then you don't have power over them. That's why it's really hard, you know? That's why, listen, I always found it strange that these gods were so eager to give revelations back in those days. But those gods, all of a sudden, now that we have technology and we have iPhones and we have cameras that everyone can videotape, gods don't pull up no more. Angels don't pull up no more, you know? Gods don't want to show up anymore. From the major gods to all the small gods to all the small places. It seems like all the gods got together and be like, whoops, let's not go to Earth anymore. You know, because they might catch us on camera. But back when we didn't have cameras, everybody had a story of meeting a god, meeting an angel. Very strange.
Yeah, but you make a good point. You make a good point there. So 1 second, let me respond. You make a very good point there. Yeah, we have a technology now, but there wasn't any before. But hence, that's why it was more important for the message or the guidance to be revealed to the people then, because now we have technology to look and search and learn about the truth of these scriptures that came before. Look, if you look at you're saying that we have advanced as human beings. I agree with you, but look at the cases of like the pyramids. Look at the cases of like these villages and these mountains, carving in mountains and all this stuff in around the world. It's a miracle. You think like how can
it's not a miracle. It's not a miracle. Listen, bro. Actually, I am so glad. I am so glad that you mentioned those things. Let me tell you something. The same way that the knowledge of how the pyramids was built is a mystery to the common person, is the same way that most scientific knowledge was a mystery to most common people back in the day. Those who are at the top of the world, those who have enough money to buy anything, those who are obsessed with knowledge even more than money, they know the real science. It's just not information that they feel like sharing. You understand? There's a lot of information that's hidden. The Arabs in the Sudanese, they hoard information within the Arabic world. They hoard a lot of information that they don't give to every Muslim. The Vatican hoards a lot of information. The US government, the Queen of England, all authorities on earth, they hoard a lot of information. Because if you distribute information, you don't know what human beings are going to do with it. And you lose your leverage. So yeah, there's really no mystery about the pyramids that you can say that human beings collectively don't know. It's not that human beings collectively don't know. It's that the average person doesn't know. The masses don't know. And that's how religion used to control the world. And because you don't know, and you don't have any scientific idea of how it could have been done, someone can easily tell you it was a miracle. It was amazing. It was the gods. And you would believe it.
All right, so like I can only speak on based on my religion, Islam, because I don't know much about other religions. But according to my religion, there's a prophecy that was at the time of our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that even gay people will eventually get married. There will be gay people who would, obviously there were gay people at that time as well, but there will be gay people who would go into the houses of God and will demand to would request to get married, and this would happen in the future. So this is like one of those signs of the
Yeah,
last
no,
days.
it's not that. It's not that it would happen in the future. It's because it already happened in the past. In ancient Rome and ancient Greek, you could marry a man if you wanted to.
No,
If
no,
you're a man.
there was the unaliving as a punishment. There was never marriages.
No, bro. You see, you don't know a lot about the cultures. All those carvings and the pyramids. Go and look at the sculpture that they used to sculpt on those walls. There were cultures where that was normal for them. You understand, bro? In the ancient past, like we're going back far, 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 far. Your religion will tell you that God destroyed the world because human beings were into crazy stuff. Every time human civilization reaches its peak, human beings begin to experiment with their desires, including desires that will be strange to most people. Unfortunately, even your Bible will tell you, if you're a Christian, there's nothing new under the sun. Most of those things are just things which have happened before, when human beings were at the peak of a specific empire, and then the empires will fall. Then people will come and tell you that, hey, look, those things that used to be would be again. It's not because it's a prophecy. It's just because it's human nature. There have been many great civilizations that have come to this world and go.
Okay,
Human
I understand.
civilization.
So let me bring some. So like science, the scientists say the multi-universe. You know, the universe is expanding. This is something that's mentioned in the Quran, by the way. So the
Brother,
multi-universe. Yeah.
brother, don't play that game with me. I don't want to go with you with the whole miracles of the Quran thing, because honestly, most of that is
I'm
just
not talking about
no,
miracles.
no, no.
I'm just talking
Relax,
about
relax. Most of that information is debunked, but nonetheless, even if it's not debunked, okay, what I'm telling you is that people back in the day, especially those who had powers, were not necessarily completely ignorant. They still had the scientific method that they used to use to try to find out real things about the world. And when we say that the universe is expanding today in our science, we're not talking extrinsically. So it's not like space is expanding. No, it's not space that's expanding. It's matter. The different bodies, cosmological bodies, are moving apart from each other. Galaxies moving apart from each other, planets moving apart from each other, stars moving apart from each other. It's just space, gravitational pull. Gravity explains it all. You know, it's not extrinsically, as in the whole universe, which is just big ball, including space-time matter, is expanding into nothingness. That's not what it means. So whatever your Quran said, no matter how scientific it sounds, it's precisely that, scientific. Human beings have always had science since we started learning. From the first moment that the first human being was curious, there's no other way to go to investigate than to go through the scientific method. The Arabs were already very curious people. The Arabs were not necessarily ignorant before Muhammad came. Okay, so yeah. And the Christians, the Arabs, the Jews, they are no different from any other civilization that came before them. They would plagiarize the knowledge of those civilizations that came before them and attribute credit to their gods. It's a common human practice. You know, that information used to spread. Methods of government used to spread the same way democracy spreads. You know, we got a country in the Middle East called Iran. Iran is a theocracy, one of the last theocracies in the world, a country that is governed by a religious leader. But all these other Muslim countries, they're ruled by monarchs or they're ruled by elected officials. Be it as it may, there is corruption. But that idea of democracy wasn't always widely spread. So was the idea of kings. It wasn't always widely spread. So was the ideas of writing constitution or holy books. Before we had constitutions, we used to write holy books. That's how kings and queens used to rule. That's how the rulers used to rule over people. The essence of writing those books was not necessarily to reveal truth, but to give people information that will allow them to be law-abiding citizens, regardless of if the information is true or false. They might have had good intentions, but they were not infallible. And that's something religious people must understand. You must understand that. Nevertheless, brother, thank you for your time. I appreciate you. Right. I do not have time to talk to just you.
Okay, no.
Why do you believe in hellfire? And did you know that God is just imaginary? Ladies and gentlemen, please let's get to 50,000 likes so I can bring up the next guest. I think we can do it. There's 330 of us right here. If you don't mind tapping the screen. I'm sorry if I'm not reading the comment section. Y'all know me. Please tap the screen, tap the screen, tap the screen. Hellfire is 129% an imaginary place. It does not exist. It has never existed. It would never exist. Hellfire, you don't die and go somewhere and go and burn in fire. Those are all man-made fabrications. It was necessary at a given at a given point in time to bind people to specific moralities. It was used as an element of fear, as a staff of intimidation, to intimidate even the most powerful people. You see, one of the amazing things psychologically behind inventing this divine punishment, this spiritual punishment, is because even rich people were not immune to such things. So no matter how arrogant, no matter how powerful a rich man was, if you wanted to control him, you could control him with a simple idea. If you could just make him believe that there is a place that he could go and burn forever. You understand? You understand? It wasn't just the poor man. There were rich people who were rich not because they worked hard for it, they just inherited that wealth. And they themselves were also they were also subject to religious indoctrination. Tap the screen, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to 50,000 likes if you don't mind, please. Tap the screen, tap the screen, tap the screen. Tap the screen.
Kia tēnā koe, brother.
Why do you believe in hellfire?
Are you familiar with F-Bell?
Why do you believe in hellfire?
You familiar with F-Bell? Are you familiar with that?
Just answer my question, brother.
Hey. What's the question again, brother?
One last time. Why do you believe in hellfire?
So Hellfire is just a program in the Matrix, my bro.
All right, bro. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you. The only matrix is that bump in the back of y'all's heads. Some of you guys, the only matrix is that bump in the back of your head. Try not to put pressure on it. Yeah? Try not to put pressure on that bump in the back of your head. It might burn.
But Kanga, how's it, brother?
What's up, brother?
How's it, brother?
I'm doing all right.
Hey, so I think the last time we talked, we kind of got off tangent, right? And I think that, this time, hopefully we can stay on topic. Let's talk about the bottom word. You say God is imaginary.
There's no
correct?
topic beyond. No, we have to start with the top one. And like I'll ask you the same way I ask everybody else, my good brother. Remember, no matter what happens in conversation, it's just conversation, right? You and I have a good understanding. So anyways, why do you believe in hellfire, brother?
You are a very smart man. You are a very smart man, eh? Eh? And the reason why I say that is because you know that the argument that I'm going to attack you on is going to be the bottom one, not the top one, because I know you. We've talked before. I know where your mindset is, and I know how to attack the argument. So if you want me to talk about hellfire, I can't defend that. I can't defend that topic. But we can talk about God.
But listen. If you don't believe in hellfire, simply say I don't.
Go ahead.
But my question is why, right? Why do you believe in hellfire? I think you can answer that question.
I know that why people believe in hellfire is because of the religious doctrine that they've been taught.
Well, I wasn't asking about people.
I'm going to tell you
I'm asking
that
about
it's not 100% wrong.
I'm asking about you specifically. You specifically. Why do you believe that there is a place that people will go and burn in flames after they die, called hellfire?
I believe that it's an interpretation of religious doctrine.
You don't think that it's literally true?
And I say this to say, hold on, repeat that one more time.
Do you think that people die and go to a place that is burning with flames that they will burn forever, called hellfire?
I think that people believe that to happen.
I'm asking you, do you believe that when people die, some people would go to a place full of flames, sulfur, with demons tormenting them, and they will burn forever? Yay or nay, brother?
You know what? Just to make my point, I'm gonna say yes. I believe that
Why do you believe that?
because it's been taught to us in our religious doctrine.
Not because it's true, simply because you've been taught.
Correct. But
Do
but
you
but
care?
we cannot
Do
say
you
that it's
care
inherently
to?
not true.
Do
The reason
you?
why you can't say that it's not true. Is it not true? Can you prove to me that it's not true?
Yes, because you're required to going to hellfire and finding out about hellfire requires death, and the people who would have told you about hellfire didn't die themselves. Literally, the first person to make up the idea of hellfire had to be someone who had died, gone there, and come back to tell you. So they had to prove that.
But
And so
but
we
that
can definitely
does
tell
not
that
prove
hellfire
that does
is
not
an
prove
idea
that it
that
doesn't exist.
no, that definitely proves because it logically doesn't follow. There's no way that man would have known that hellfire is a real place
Okay.
if a man hadn't died, gone to hellfire, come back and confirm that hellfire is a real place. Not to even mention the fact that it takes different shapes and forms depending on which culture you're coming from. We can tell that it's 100% conjured up by the imagination of man. And when we see the application of such doctrines, it is used for the purpose of fear and intimidation. Hellfire is not used in a positive way whatsoever.
Well, just because it's used
The
for
existences of gods and deities can all be relevant, even if there was no hellfire. Hellfire is literally the same thing as the death penalty, should I put it that way? Or how do I put it? Communism or authoritarian type government. It's an abuse of ideology, in my opinion, because it capitalizes
that
on
is
human
exactly what
shame,
it is.
guilt, and fear.
That's exactly what it is. It's your opinion because you cannot tell me 100% proof that this hellfire does not exist.
I can tell
Because
you with
just as you tell me,
1000%.
no, let me tell you. Just as you tell me that there is no proof that somebody has died and came back, and then being able to explicitly tell us this is what they experienced, and therefore us to make it true, or even be able to have a level of like a roadmap to go by to explain this. You don't have that to disprove it. The same way you don't have a way to disprove God.
Yes, I do have that to disprove it. And the only
How?
way that anyone does not understand me disproving it is indicative of a lack of cognitive function, bro. Like I said, we have the ability to know shit that people made up and shit that's real. Like that's a basic thing that's required for an intelligent human being. Like you need to be able to hear a story and be able to properly classify that story within it being realistic or fictional. Like literally, like every educated person should have that skill. And failure to identify or to exhibit such skills is indicative of lack of education. Like I said to you, where did the first person who learned about hellfire get that information from if they themselves hadn't died and gone there? They would have had to imagine
See,
it.
that's a problem. That's the problem with your argument. That's the problem with your argument. You make a lot of assumptions, right? You make a lot of assumptions. What most people who believe in hellfire, correct? They're not making an assumption, right? They're taking information that was brought to them by people that lived prior to them in the
Those
majority of the
people who
cases.
lived prior to them
So,
did not go to
to
hellfire.
say,
No, listen, bro. You see, don't use words that you cannot justify, okay, bro? There's no assumptions here. I'm not making no assumption.
I'm
Okay?
saying,
Listen carefully. Who came up with the idea of hellfire?
do we know? There's no one person that we can
Yes, we
identify
know. Yes, we
and
know.
actually separate
Yes,
one
we
person.
know.
One person?
Yes,
One
we
person.
know.
What one person told us about hellfire? What one person told us?
Listen.
Tell me that.
Dante.
Dante, you talking about Dante's Inferno? Did you actually read the book?
No, but I know enough about it to know that Dante invented what you today understand as hellfire. Now,
No, sir.
listen,
No,
listen,
absolutely
listen.
not.
Listen,
Absolutely not. I could tell you who brought in Hellfire, bro. I could tell you who brought
no,
it in
relax,
as far
relax.
as like majority of Christian religion. I could tell you about that, but it was not Dante.
Who was it?
Constantine. Yeah.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Listen, let
Really,
me let me let me
really,
let me
really.
let me
Okay.
let me educate you.
I mean, you got. I'm gonna educate you. I'm
No,
gonna
it's okay.
tell. I'm gonna
Relax,
let you know
relax,
the
relax, relax. Do you know that there's a difference between the underworld and hellfire?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. All conceptions of the afterlife from the Judeo-Christian perspective was consistent with the underworld prior to Dante. It was
See,
consistent.
I have a
In
point of
fact, the
contention. I have
word
a
the
point of
word
contention with that statement
they even used the word
because it's not
Hades.
true. That's not
Listen,
true.
brother,
All
brother,
Judeo-Christian religions, it's
brother,
not true.
relax. Let me finish. It even follows with the utilization of the word Hades in the Bible. We know where the word Hades originates from. Hades was the ruler of the underworld, just like what's his contemporary in Egyptian mythology again. Um,
That
yeah, it was Seth, but there's somebody else, the one who welcomes you after you die in Egyptian mythology. What's his name again? It escapes my mind. Anubis,
yeah.
Osiris, also Anu, exactly. Osiris also. The underworld was an inhabited place, barren yet true, but it could still sustain life with even beautiful gardens and beautiful aspects to it.
Where did you read that from? Where did you read that at?
In Hades, listen again. If you study the mythologies, you will understand. It's not one specific source. Okay, it's
No,
years
no.
of
I
accumulated
have studied
knowledge.
mythology. I've
No,
read
no,
the Book
no.
of Death. I've read the Book of
Relax,
Life.
relax, relax,
I know.
relax.
I know. I'm right here with you. I'm just
Yes,
trying to ask you, like
relax,
specifically.
relax. Yes, it's not one single source, so you have to go and really dive into the specific mythologies. And then,
Correct.
if you look at Viking mythology, Norwegian mythology, they had an idea called Helhem. Are you familiar with that
It's Helheim. But go ahead.
pronunciation? What was Helheim?
It's very important. This is
Bro,
where you
bro,
have the
no, no, no,
mythology
no,
with
no,
talking
no,
about
no,
Hela.
don't
This is
worry
where we
about
talk
it.
about Hela.
Don't worry
I
about it.
got you. I got you, bro.
Address the point. Address
I
the
got
point.
you. We
Address the
talk about
point.
Hela. Let's talk
Listen.
about Hela then. Let's talk
No, no,
about Hela.
no,
You
no,
want to
no,
talk
no, no,
about
no,
that?
no,
We're
no,
gonna
no.
talk about Hela.
Follow along. Follow along. What was Helheim? In
Helheim.
in yes, in Norwegian mythology, what was Helheim?
So in Norwegian mythology, especially leading up to our understanding of the Greek text that you're alluding to, obviously. I mean, I'm not no dummy, bro. I've studied this stuff before. But when we talk about Helheim, and you know what? I'm gonna say this before I give you the answer, is because no disrespect, but hey man, don't undermine my my studies, bro. Like I know what I'm talking about, right? So let's talk about Helheim, right? You got Hades and you got Hela, right? These are the perceived rulers or their interpretation of what exists in the underworld or what they would call hell for people who died and didn't do what they perceived to be live the right type of life in that circumstance. The same thing happened in Egypt. The same thing happened in old Iran with the Book of Thoth. The same thing happened in Bethlehem and Jerusalem and
Brother, I
Israel.
hate to interrupt you, but I was very specific. I wasn't asking you about contemporary mythologies. I wanted you to address it specifically from the Viking perspective. What was Helheim? In comparison to Valhalla, what was Helheim?
Helheim was the opposite of Valhalla.
Not necessarily the opposite. Helheim was one of the
No,
nine.
no, 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 no. Necessarily the opposite. I'm gonna
Brother,
have a
brother,
point of
brother, brother,
contention with
brother,
you on
brother,
that. I'm gonna say it
relax,
was exactly the opposite.
brother, relax. Let me tell you, there's no opposites here.
Go ahead. Oh,
It's
okay.
one of the nine realms of the living. Okay, Valhalla, Midgard, Helheim, wherever the frost giants live, apparently based on those mythologies, were all believed to be parts of the earth with different living creatures that are indigenous to those areas. And based on their environment, those different creatures had certain abilities in association with those areas. So if you were not indigenous to a specific place and you find yourself there, you were at a disadvantage or you were at a significant advantage. That was Helheim. It was not everlasting torture. People went in and out of there freely in that mythology. Same thing with Hades and the underworld. People went in and out of Hades. In fact, in Greek mythology, the underworld was not the lowest level of existence. There was a place called Tartarus, which is beneath the underworld, where the Titans are chained and enslaved. An idea that later on was incorporated into Christianity as the bottomless pit, where the fallen angels are held in chains.
No, 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 sir. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. Uh, yeah, no, that's not that's not where Christian hell came from, bro. It's not. I hope you're ready. You got your books, you got your Google up. You ready? Let me know. I'm saying, bro. I'm saying you out of
Brother,
pocket, bro.
brother, brother,
Gotta call you out.
rather than just being cliche, make your point.
The point is, none of this that you're talking about God being imaginary, would have any leg to stand on if the fact that the definition of God and what it means in comparison to any type of religious text or anything like that, if there was no idea of God, you would not be able to even speak the words God does not exist.
Hence, I
Period.
said God is imaginary. We imagine ideas of things which have never been, are not, and would never be. We call such things fictional. Do you understand that?
I do, but what I'm
Okay,
saying
good.
is the idea of a God. To say that it doesn't exist, you can't not say that something doesn't
It
exist
is
for it to
a
be.
fictional idea. That's why
But you
it
cannot
doesn't
prove that. You
exist.
cannot, just as much as you ask somebody to prove that God exists, you equally cannot prove that
Brother,
God does not exist.
brother, you see,
You
you keep
cannot.
deflecting. You keep deflecting. Do you understand when
I'm
I
not.
say
I'm
it?
not. I'm right
Do,
with you.
do you understand when I say it is a fictional idea? Do you understand that?
Absolutely. I
Do you do
understand.
you
And
do you
I believe you're
understand?
wrong. I believe you're wrong in that
Do you
statement.
do you
It's not a
understand,
fictional idea.
brother?
It's
What
not.
is what is a
Pull
fictional
up the
idea?
definition of fiction.
What is a fictional
Yeah,
idea?
that's what I'm gonna tell you. Yeah, you tell me.
No, no, I'm
What's a
asking you.
fictional
I'm
idea?
asking you. I'm asking you. What is a fictional idea?
A fictional idea is something that's made up, something
Bro,
that's
human beings
of
made it
imagination,
up.
a
Human beings
figment. No,
made
no,
it
no.
up.
But no. It relates when you talk about the definition. Imagination relates to the seer, relates to the actual person that's making the statement. It does not relate to any information that they gather from someone else, because you cannot stray away from the fact that there are people that truly believe these things to be real and evident, right? And
Belief
so
is not
your
the
pointed
measure by
task
which.
would be
Listen,
like,
listen
hey,
to me,
look,
brother.
these people
Believe.
said this, right?
Hold up, hold
Let
up,
me
hold up.
prove them wrong. And
No,
you
no,
cannot.
hold up, brother. Belief is not the measure by which we measure truth. Verifiable evidence is the measure by which we measure truth. Truth cannot be truth without proof. Do you understand that? That's how we human beings, that's how our logical way of interacting with the world functions. Hence, I can say, due to the lack of evidence, due to the consistency of the idea as described to be fictional, make the conclusion that such idea is strictly imaginary, just like the multitude of other imaginary ideas we have that we don't argue about, like Superman.
Hey, truth is not subject to evidence. I don't know where you
Truth,
get your definition of
truth,
truth. It's
truth.
not subject to evidence.
Yes, it
It is
is.
not.
Yes, it
It is
is.
not. Put me up a
Would
definition that says that.
listen,
Put me
listen,
one.
listen. Hold up,
Put me
bro.
one. Put me number 4
Bro,
out of the
bro, bro,
Webster
bro, bro, bro,
Dictionary
bro, brother,
that
relax,
says,
relax,
come on,
relax. I'll ask
let's
you a
go.
question. I'll ask you a question. How do you know
Okay, go
something is
ahead.
true? How do you know something is true without evidence?
How do you know something is true without evidence?
Yeah.
You can't know something is true without evidence,
Do you
right?
know why?
I know
How?
exactly why.
Hold
I'm
on, hold on.
telling
Did
you,
you say you can't or you can?
I said you cannot know something is true without evidence.
Thank you.
Correct.
Hold up. Do you know
Go
why?
ahead. Go ahead. Make your point because I'm going to be on your ass, right? Go
Do you
ahead.
know why? Because the evidence is the truth. The evidence
Right.
is the literal truth, right?
Okay.
It's
Okay.
it,
Okay.
it takes the truth out of realm of fiction and lies and deception, materializes it into independent reality available to all observers. Meanwhile,
What is
if
that? What is the
something,
weight of evidence, though?
if
How do you
some,
explain evidence? What evidence do you take in order to make an assumption versus what evidence you kick out to make an assumption? Leave me right there.
when the evidence is consistent with the claims made in practicality, ideologically, and realistically, we can determine
Okay.
it
Oh,
to
you said
be
a lot of words. You said a lot of words. You said
hold up,
practicality.
bro. Let
You
me
said practicality.
finish
You said ideology.
talking.
I just want you to explain, and
Let
you gotta be
me.
cool with it. You gotta
You can't
explain why
want
you
me to
talking these words.
explain in the
Yeah,
middle
it
of
is.
what I'm saying. You haven't heard it all.
Okay, go ahead.
The truth of a matter is the fact of that matter, and the fact of that matter is the evidence provided as consistent with whatever presuppositions or claims made about that matter. Without the evidence, there is absolutely no way to determine what's true or not. One will be in a state of confusion. That is why evidence is the grounding factor of truth. Facts. Without evidence, you cannot know truth. Without evidence, there is no truth. You just have tales, fairy tales, and fiction.
And this here is why your show is so popular because you have people who feel inherently, or other people who have certain levels of evidence, and they feel as if this is evidence to prove their point that God exists. Right?
Thank you. Listen, check this out. I like that you said that. That is why,
Correct.
for a person like me who is denying the veracity of a claim, my job is not to prove, but disprove. So when you provide your evidence, my job is to examine your evidence and point out the inconsistencies between the claims you are making and the evidence you've provided, hence disqualifying such evidence as truth. But if I am not able to disqualify such evidence as truth, then you would have the responsibility to enforce why that evidence is consistent with our reality, though we can't observe it. You see what I'm saying? The burden of proof is always on the one who says something is. So if I say God is imaginary, yes, the burden of proving that God is imaginary is on me. And that's an easy job to do, like I said. God,
See, I disagree with that. I think that if you're going to disprove something, you have to have as much evidence that things are not true as much as the person who is
brother,
presenting the evidence to say
no,
that it is
no,
true.
no, no.
Well, see,
You
that's the
don't,
point of contention we
you don't
have,
try
though,
to
because
prove.
if
Listen,
you're going to
listen,
say, like, look,
brother.
if God didn't exist, right, you
Let me
wouldn't
help
even
you
know the
out.
word
No,
God, you wouldn't know how to
brother,
say it,
let me help you
but
out. Let me help you out. You
I'm
do
trying
not
to
try
tell
to
you,
prove a
though.
negative. You don't try to prove a negative, bro. That's logic 101. You only prove a
Okay.
positive. A negative disproves a positive. Prove is the positive. Disproving is the negative, which is negative means absence, minus, removed from reality.
So let me ask you this then. Is there some evidence that you have yet seen that could probably change your viewpoint from being fiction to nonfiction.
No.
For example, say no. Let me tell you before you answer. You answer real quick because honestly, I know the answer to this question, and I'm gonna ask you it anyway for the audience. Is there something that could happen that could be proven to where you say, okay, all right, I was wrong. God is real.
No.
There's nothing that can happen.
There's only okay. Let me put it this way. Let
Come
me
on,
give
bro.
you. Let me give you a
You
hypothetical.
tripping?
Listen. Let me give you a hypothetical.
Go ahead.
The only way that God can exist is if I am that omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent being. So you can only know that God exists by being God. As described. That's why it's a fictional idea. So a human being can only know that Superman exists if a human being can become Superman. Because the claim in of itself arises from man's innermost desire and man's innermost exaggeration of what he would like to be. It's an idea that takes the shape and form of man's own image. That's why when you look at all the ideas of God, it's usually consistent with the feelings, the sentiments, and even the subjective perspective of the one who is imagining it. Hence, no two people can imagine God the same way. That inconsistency in of itself shows that it's not an objective truth or a common truth. There's no two Christians who imagine God in the same way. Impossible.
True.
That is why.
True.
That's why when you take their books, right, they pick and choose. That is why unity is impossible within that system. They cannot have a universal perspective. Not just in their imagination, but also in the utility and the practicalities of what they claim that God tells them to do.
Okay, so we're talking about two different things.
So check this out. As far as the question of the origins of life, that's
See, we never went there. I don't even want to go there.
No. Hold up.
That's irrelevant to the topic.
That's
irrelevant to the
that
topic
is
and the argument we're talking about right now. That's irrelevant because you're not talking to the traditional. You're not talking to a traditional religious type of person.
Brother, listen very well. The reason why I bring the origin of life is because one of the major qualities, one of the major questions, one of the major assumptions, one of the major things that persuades people to imagine the possibility of God is their inability to conceive the emergence of life without an intentional, intelligent being involved. Hence, they describe whatsoever it is that they would think was that intelligent being as an omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent being. When in fact,
I disagree with you though. I think that your ideology, your experience behind it, maybe you haven't talked to yet enough people. You're talking about traditional religious ideology, and that's not the focus I'm going in here. Not at all. It's not at all. So, which is why I was telling you that your whole creation story, which gives you the backbone to make your argument in a normal situation, does not apply here, sir.
Brother, there is a definition for the word God, a standard definition for the word God in the English language. There's a reason why I use the word standard. Okay.
It's not, so the word God is presumptuous amongst other things in belief systems. It has nothing to do or a standalone or stationary type of definition as if you were to describe the word chair or the word love or anything like that. It's a different type of definition.
Brother, it in fact does. And I would
you
only
pull
credit...
Pull it up, put it on your back screen right now. Let's go at it. Because brother, I don't think you know what you're talking about.
Brother, relax. You have to, learning how to speak a language is a skill, my brother.
I know, my brother.
Okay, so let me ask you, okay, what is the key and centralized element behind language? What is the core of language? What is it that makes a language a language?
The community of communication and within a community for them to be able to survive.
Let me educate you.
Am I wrong?
Language would be a language. Yes, you're wrong.
Okay, come on
No
now.
language can be a language without standardized definition and meanings for words. Every word in every language has a standard definition that allows common ground between two communicators. If every communicator has to bring their own meaning for the word to the table, two people would never be able to communicate. So we construct language by standardizing the meanings of words, but we allow room for alternative meanings within certain contexts. So one must always contextualize when using words. The word God is standardly defined as, in Christianity and other monotheistic religions, the creator, ruler of the universe, and source of all moral authority, the supreme being. That is the standard definition. Now, there is a secondary
Is that a
definition.
definition you agree with?
Listen, bro, I don't have to agree with the definition. That's not how language works. The definition is not an idea.
Yeah. You know, every word was made up until somebody gave it a definition, bro. What are we talking about here?
Bro, what I need to disagree with is not the meaning of the word, but how the meaning of the word is utilized to propagate a certain idea. But every word that comes out of my mouth needs to have a standard meaning in order for me to formulate an idea. That's where agreement and disagreement comes. We cannot disagree on definitions. We need to
Well,
simply
I think one thing you can agree on with me is that there are more than one definition or any sources of definitions of the word God. Period. And I can guarantee you have not thoroughly studied each definition from each source that you can source for a definition of a word in the English language. You have not sourced each definition of this word.
Again, bro, your problem is simply a fundamental lack of understanding, which is probably not due to any cognitive thing. It's probably just due to lack of exposure to it, or maybe you haven't set yourself down the path to understand that. Bro, there's a reason why we have an alphabet. There's a reason why we have grammar. There's a reason why we have punctuation.
I mean, that's irrelevant to what I'm talking about.
No, listen.
Our same alphabet.
Bro, I'm trying to teach you something. The alphabet, grammar, punctuation, those are all tools used to establish the standardization I'm telling you about.
So
you cannot listen.
Let me show you.
Let me show you how it's standard, bro. Regardless of capital or small letters, how many ways are there to spell the word God in English?
Sir, majority of words in the English language, by definition, have duality.
Brother, how many ways are there to spell the word God in English that we speak today?
It's more than one. I can tell you that.
Give me 3.
I would disconnect from the live if I pull it up on Google to tell you the truth. But you can, since you got the live studio, go ahead and pull it up, put it on your back screen, instead of trying to make me look dumb. Because you know what I'm talking about, bro.
No, brother.
You smart enough. You know, nigga, like don't do me like that, bro. Don't do me like that. Don't do me like that, bro.
You know how we do spelling checks, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I tell you to spell the word God, what's the correct spelling? Let me just put it that way. That way it's simple. What's the correct spelling of the word God?
It depends on who I'm talking to.
No, I'm talking about formal English, not informal English. Formal English, like real English. How do you spell the word God?
Are we talking about England English? Are we talking about American English? What English are we talking about, sir? See, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Because there are many variations of the same thing. And you're trying to mark in on one point to corner me and try to like answer a question the way you want to do it.
Bro,
and
okay.
you know, bro, you're smarter than that, bro. You know that I'm
brother
not
Roger, brother Roger, please stop going down that path. Okay, tell me, how do you spell God in British English?
G-O-D.
How do you spell God in American English?
And our interpretation that we're talking about right now, to best of my knowledge, is going to be G-O-D. Yeah, I got to give it to you like that, bro. I got to give it to you like that. To the best of my knowledge, is G-O-D. In American. right? Because I know some Americans spell God GAWD. Now, so I don't
You
know.
write that,
I don't
you
know.
spell
I'm just
that.
letting you know.
Listen. That's not English. That's slang. You know the difference between slang and formal English?
I know what a colloquialism is, and it's not a colloquialism, sir.
Okay, good.
When is it?
So,
When is it
I
moved from a
listen.
colloquialism to English dictionary? So the English language don't add new definitions. They don't add new words or new spelling of words. Are you telling me that it don't happen no more? It's
listen,
dead. Like, come on
listen,
now.
listen,
Tell me
brother.
the
I
definition
said,
of a dead language. What's the
brother,
definition of a dead language? How about that?
wait. I was specific to you. I said formal. Do you know the difference between formal, the formal and informal?
Absolutely.
What does formal mean?
There's formalities. It has to do with the. Let me tell you. Hold on, before you wipe your face, come on now. Give me a chance to explain this to you, bro. Don't do me like that. But I'm gonna say formal, right? So it has to do with the unspoken about caste system that America has, and as far as language is done. So when America was formed, you had people that came from. That's why they call it the King's English, right? In America, initially. And then, you had the Southerners, the slaves, they all talk different. The King's English tends to be what we refer to as formal English language.
What is informal?
Informal English language would be more so connecting to smaller minority groups of people who have developed certain words within their communities that would not be a part of the greater deal of what English represents as a whole for the American people, i.e.,
Listen,
African
listen,
American vernacular,
listen.
i.e.,
Let me
slang, black slang, all that
let
stuff.
me help you out. Formal of anything is the standard way that thing is. Informal are alternative but not
How you say
recognized.
that so surely?
Brother,
Formal is not the standard. It's not always the standard. It is not. It is not, bro. It is not. No. Because tell me this, and I'm gonna tell you. Let me give you an example. So, a formal wedding for a group of people from England, right? Would it be different than a formal wedding with people who were Igbo from Nigeria? Would there be any differences in the wedding? Both formal.
say that again.
Okay. A formal English wedding versus a formal Igbo wedding. Would there be any differences?
You've already distinguished them when you said English and then when you said Igbo.
Okay.
If you were
But
said
what would be the difference
when you
of the
would have
formality
said
though?
when you would have said
We talk about culturally. I'm talking
listen
about the formality of it being
brother
formal and not formal and this and that.
brother, don't go too deep into the abyss. You might lose yourself. Your first explanation was more consistent with the reality. What you did was you didn't necessarily define it, you tried to give examples, which made sense. What I did was I defined it and I simplified it. That's why I said I simplified it for you by saying standard. Now listen, this is the definition of the word formal. The word formal is an adjective. It can be used as a noun, but as a noun, it just means an evening gown. But its official use is as an adjective, which means done in accordance with rules of convention or etiquette, suitable for or constituting an official or important situation or occasion. Standard. The reason why it's standard is so that when you and I meet, bro, we don't have to go through the prerequisite of having to redefine words every time we want to communicate. So we get a committee together, standardized meaning for words. Then everyone can just use those standard words to convey their ideas based on their skills and their understanding of the different meanings of those words. If you and I have to worry about which definition is which, bro, Then when I say the word I, you're gonna have to ask me, what do you mean by I? Everything I say out of my mouth, you're gonna have to ask me without standardization. Standardization is literally how our brains function with anything. That's how logic works. We use logic to establish standards. And then, because our brains also has a capacity to wander off. Maybe I don't want to spell the word God, G-O-D. So I spell it as slang, G-A-W-D. But
Right.
someone who speaks Nigerian English would see that and he wouldn't even be able to come to the conclusion that it's the same word. But someone maybe from the hoods of Cleveland, Ohio, might understand that.
And be able to teach him.
No, not teach him. There's no reason for the guy in Nigeria to learn that because it's not part of formal English. The guy in Nigeria only needs formal English.
So there's ever no reason to learn things that you would consider in this, I guess, in this exchange.
Bro,
There's
if there was
never
not
a
formal
reason to
English,
consider
bro,
informal English.
yeah,
Like, come
bro.
on now, bro.
No, bro. Do you know that there's a language in Africa called Pidgin, which is an informal type of English? You couldn't learn Pidgin. Even
It's pigeon. Wait, bro. It's pigeon in almost every other non-American culture. Like you got
it's called Pidgin English. You're correct. It's an informal slang
They
of
got
English.
this shit out here in Hawaii, bro. And I see you with the
Okay.
Aloha beer hat on, and you ain't came out here and hollered at a nigga though. But it's all good.
Listen, bro, you tried today, but you got your ass whooped again.
No, whatever, bro. It's all good. I'm gonna let you make it
Look,
this time.
look,
I'm
bro,
gonna let you
look,
make
bro.
it. I'm gonna let you make it.
The only chance you might have to win my ass, bro, might be if me and you were to pull like a Jake Paul, Mike Tyson type of fight. Like when
Nigga,
I'm
you
retired.
Mike Tyson.
Look,
You Mike Tyson.
Yeah. When I'm retired and old, maybe. Maybe you stand a chance.
Hey, 'cause
But
you know, look, I
you
was
ain't
really
finna
just
get
trying
me
to-
in my prime now. You ain't finna get me in my prime now.
You already know I've been on here before, man. We on the same page, but I was
Of
just trying to
course.
come at you on
No,
another angle.
we're on the same page as far as the brotherhood.
Yeah. Well,
But
even with the whole God
there
ideology,
there
you
is
right.
room
You
there
question
is
these
room
niggas.
for disagreement. Always.
Well, I just was trying to be able to solidify my argument, or anytime I'll talk to anybody else that are really religiously solidified, and I'm like, hey, yo, this is stupid, and I'm gonna tell you why. And so I think it was a good exercise, me being able to try to come to you and be like, no, what? God exists, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think you probably one of my favorite people to do that with. But yeah,
Facts.
nigga, when you come to Hawaii, bro, you playing, bro. Got my
Bro,
that's my
I'll be-
brewery. That's my
I'll
partners
be-
that own that brewery, dude.
I'll be there in 2 weeks for some training.
Okay, cool. Yeah, come
Yeah.
on, let's boy.
For sure.
I'll smoke you a brisket, bro.
Yeah, man. I get to come. I get to come and try your restaurant out, man. That's
Yes,
long
sir.
overdue.
You know I got it. I got the
That's
club
right.
too. I got a club too. You know me
Yeah,
come
bro.
through.
Word.
Yes, sir.
Sounds like a
Get
plan,
somebody
bro.
else up and bacangalize their ass, man.
For sure. Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir.
Remember, formal English. My African people, especially you don't get to invent your own definition for words. Understand the standard meaning of a word. Then we can go into philosophical definitions, religious definitions. We can dabble with all other types of definition, but every word in every language has a standard definition. Learn that. Understand that. You literally spend 12 years of your life going to school learning that shit. It's just the basics. You understand? It's just the basics. Just like you learn arithmetic, right? Before you go to algebra. You learn your alphabet, your conjugation.
How's it going? I
Hello, sir.
loved your last bout with the last guy. Very entertaining. Very entertaining.
Hello, sir.
I did want to kind of have a bit of a question about it. Do you think God is a title or a name?
God is an idea which can be used as a title.
All right, well, I like to use and say that God in itself is a title because Zeus in itself is a title. Zeus is the
Yes.
name.
The title.
God is the title he holds.
The word God as a title is the equivalent of other titles like king, queen,
Or
ruler,
CEO, like,
lord,
yeah,
executive.
CEO, worker,
Indeed.
mother, father. Yes.
Indeed. And you want to know what's amazing about titles?
They could be extruded into really weird ways.
A title is in the image of its inventor
Or its user.
or its user. Correct.
Yeah.
A president
Because
is not a king.
some people can oppress other people due to the title that they hold, which is not a positive thing.
Titles, in terms of authority, it's always about governance. You're correct. But titles are not always in terms of authority. Sometimes titles are to distinguish roles when there's work that needs to be done. You
Yes,
know,
I understand
for
that.
example,
But
on the football field, the wide receiver and the quarterback, they are both essential to winning the game. Like on the
well,
basketball
everyone's
field,
essential to winning the game.
of course, the coach as
But
well, the
it's what
fans.
you're actually put there for makes you useful in that role.
Thank you. The word God as an idea is a title that kings and rulers of old gave themselves in order to solidify their rule over the people. And then they attributed they attached divine attributes to that title in order to augment whatever intimidation came with that title. You know, the more dangerous qualities a title had, the more feared he who holds that title would be.
Exactly.
It's
Just like,
just sad that some people
if you
today
do not
do not
listen to me,
understand.
I can make you suffer for eternity. And I'm the
Facts.
one that made that possible, and I'm God. My title is law. And
Thank you for your
that
time,
is
my
kind of
brother.
very important.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time, man. I appreciate you. Salutations, Jonathan. Salutations, brother.
Yeah.
There is no God, there never has been, and there never will be. Why do you believe in hellfire? Answer that question. Uh, I hear you, DH1EO. I hear you, bro. Why do you believe in God? Why do you believe in hellfire?
What's the host?
What's
I
up,
don't know how to
brother?
pronounce your name. Bakanga, is that how you say it?
It is fair. However it is that you pronounce it, I take no offense. I welcome it. Now answer my question, brother. Why do
Right,
you
okay. Go
believe
on.
in hellfire?
Why do I believe in hellfire? So I think the question itself is very open. You need to start with the basics first. Why like the real question is, why would I believe in an entity or a deity? That's the actual first initial question you should be asking.
I do not intend to go that route. I have specific reasons why I choose to tackle or discuss the matter of hellfire in the form of a question first. Because I want you to, like you said, it's kind of open. I want you to establish a foundation upon which you can now link everything else that comes after that. So I want hellfire to be the focal point. Why do you believe in hellfire? Let's start from there. Speak your
Why
mind.
do I believe in hellfire? Because I feel like I'm not gonna say I feel like, but my logical reasoning and rationality.
You just snitch on yourself. You just snitch on yourself. You say, I feel like.
Listen.
Then you had to change it. You say, I feel like.
Yeah.
You should have just continued. You could have just continued.
No, I am human. So from my limited rationality and limited logical reasoning, I can deduce the reason as to why hell exists is because heaven exists. Polar opposites obviously must both
What
exist.
evidence do we have
They
that
can
heaven
never be.
exists? What evidence do we have that heaven exists?
Okay, now you've asked a very specific question. What evidence does it suggest that heaven or hell exist? In order to go into the metaphysics of things, we'd have to start off with base level of if there even is a God for these things to exist. You can't
Okay,
just go
good,
straight into
good, good,
metaphysics.
good. But
if you're
these
discussing
things,
philosophy,
this,
one
this,
second,
this,
bro. Can I
these
just quickly
things,
finish?
these things would exist independent of God, and you should be able to justify the existence of these things independent of the existence of God.
I mean, for me personally, I will say as a Muslim, my the fundamental beliefs doesn't it doesn't work that way. You can't have heaven and hell existing without
Let me
So-
let me tell you why you feel the need to talk about the existence of God before you can address the issue of heaven and hell. Because as standalone ideas,
yeah.
they quite literally are what they are, made up ideas. So you want to find an idea where you can have this, how do I say, this genie in the bottle that you call God. So you can then now build a spider web with that idea. Because all you have to do is say, well, God can do anything. And then you exempt yourself from providing physical evidence of the existence of your God. That's why when I now simplify the whole soup and pick a specific target and say, hey man, why do you believe in hellfire? You are unable to vocalize a reasonable, argument.
So do you derive all your truths and objective truths from empiricism? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yes, I'm saying to you that empiricism, or let's say the physical world, is the foundation of all realities, without which nothing else is possible. It is what we know
Right, okay.
to be true the most. It is the beginning point of all observation as far as we are concerned. Something which cannot be contrary. Something that we believe or think is needs to be consistent with what we already know as a fact is. So everything else needs to match what is within. Yes. And I think that absent-mindedness.
I mean, that's I wouldn't agree with that, but go on.
That absent-mindedness that comes from trying to make the physical world inferior to what people have just imagined opens Pandora's box. It leaves room for confusion. Then Santa Claus, all mythologies might as well be true. Because with enough justification and enough faith, anyone can make any bullshit true.
That is a fallacy.
How is that a fallacy?
You're simply suggesting that just because a person believes in a set of beliefs or values or metaphysical beliefs means that it's as equally justified as, let's say, for example, as someone that's a Hindu. Varying, there's thousands of beliefs out there. You stating that just because one person believes this, that means all of them have to be true, because obviously to you they're logically infallible. To you, that's your subjective views. That doesn't mean that essentially it's the truth as a whole. Does that make sense?
What would classify? How do you determine what's metaphysical and what's not? By what criteria?
Do you know what metaphysical means, bro?
That's what I'm asking you. Tell me, how do you distinguish between how do you classify things as metaphysical and other things as not?
Something that's metaphysical is usually defined as, obviously, this is not, don't quote me, I'm going to paraphrase this, but something that we can't essentially experience through our sensory experiences.
I'm
So
gonna read it to you.
physically.
I had it pulled up the whole time.
Yeah, we can't. You can pull up the definition, but I'm just saying we
I'm
can't
gonna-
prove
I'm-
it through empiricism or through our sensory experiences. That's
It
the best
doesn't-
way I can.
And it simply doesn't make it true simply because it's been classified as metaphysical. Metaphysical things are not necessarily true things.
Goes beyond our physical realm or physical
No,
laws
no.
and.
It's not beyond. You cannot go beyond something that you haven't completely quantified. You can only create an alternative. It's an alternative ideology without physical representation. Pretty much. It's an ideology without physical representation, which has not yet been proven to be real. Okay, you can have metaphysical things which couldn't be proven to be real in time with the right tools, and other metaphysical things which would forever remain bullshit. Now, let me read to y'all, everyone listening, the definition of metaphysics. It is the branch of philosophy that deals with the first principles of things, including abstract concepts such as being, knowing, substance, cause, identity, time, and space. You know what I call metaphysics in my own way? I say metaphysics is no man's land. Anybody that got a cuckoo gaga, a dude on mushrooms, whatever he conjured up in his head is as much metaphysical as what the smartest philosopher makes up in his head. Simply because of that lack of physical evidence, bro. The physical evidence is the ground. That's what will ground your claims, your philosophy as consistent with reality. That's what will qualify whatever it is that you're conjuring up in your head as real. Until then, it is as abstract as Superman, Santa Claus, and all other superstitious claims, all other mythological claims, Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, they will all fall in that realm. There's another word that we use to describe such things: fiction.
Okay, so what's the main point of your
My main point
Like,
to you is that if it's not physical,
because it's been
if it's not physical,
Yeah.
not consistent with the physical world, it's not real. Doesn't exist.
if it's found to be metaphysical and it's proved to be true in the future, what does that make it?
You cannot prove that it's going to be true in the future.
No, it's some
Because
truths.
truth
It's some
is
truths are hold on.
truth is present
some
and
truths-
continuous.
1 second. How
go on.
do you determine the truth?
By observing the evidence.
So by observing the evidence.
The evidence
How exactly?
must be consistent with the claims that have been made using our five senses. We use our five senses to collect data. We formulate ideas. Once the idea has taken shape and form within our minds, we observe the reality
Right.
of what that idea is describing to see if it's consistent with what we formed in our minds. If it's not consistent, then we made up some bullshit. That's
So
why science,
judging
bro. That's
by
why
what you've-
that's why in the world of science fiction, there's no limit. All of Hollywood is all metaphysics. It works in the exact same way. When the writer of Star Wars was writing Star Wars, he had to philosophize. He conjured up this philosophy of this alternative reality where there are different creatures on different planets with amazing technologies, with good guys and bad guys. When the writers of the Lord
Right,
of the
the
Rings
reason-
wrote the Lord of the Rings, they went metaphysical, which is fiction.
The reason as to why I asked you is because there's certain concepts in physics called specifically the dark matter and dark energy, which make up 80 to 85% of the universe's, basically 80 to 85% of the universe. These aren't observable through our natural senses, right? Things such as black holes, gravity. Obviously, we can't observe these things. We're not physically there. That's the reason as to why I asked you, how do you observe these things? You said through our five sensory experiences.
Yes, our five senses are the windows by which all information comes in, anyways.
Right.
Like I said, there's a difference. What I think dark matter and all those explanations of dark energy, the way we actually verify that such things are true or consistent with reality. Have you ever been in a dark room and
Yeah.
you send your hand up and you touch a wall, but you can't necessarily tell what it's made of? Or you feel something there physically, but you don't know what it is. It's possible to know that something is there without knowing what it is, without knowing how it is. Because the information will not always be available to your five senses immediately. True. So we develop technologies to augment our ability to observe. The grounding factor still remaining our five senses. That's why a dead man doesn't do research. Okay? So our five senses will still lead us down that path. So if you make metaphysical claims, there has to be enough reality backing what you're claiming for that to not be classified as fiction. And the reality of this, bro, listen to me, because I would not completely discredit your line of reasoning, okay? There's an element of truth to what you're saying when you say that human beings can imagine things which are not yet, which would be. Like the cell phone. We can follow certain lines of reasoning, certain evidence, and we can chart the course of how things are flowing. But you can reach a point where you begin to exaggerate, where you get off course. Because whether in fact those things materialize, most of the time depends on human action. If we never even seek out those things, we'll never find out.
I mean, yeah, I completely agree with you. To get straight to the point, I feel like we're kind of being, shooting around, just random circles right now. Would you classify yourself as an atheist or an agnostic?
I only officially classify myself as a realist.
And what does that mean?
If it's up to me, I won't even classify myself. But for the lack of better word, I pick the word realist. So if it's not available or accessible to my five senses in one way or another, it's not real. If it's purely imaginary, if it's purely ideological, it's not real. That standard is what allows me to know what is and what's not. And if there's something that I think in my head as an idea that I want it to be real, I better as hell go and look for the evidence. Seek it out.
Are you certain? Are you certain that there's no deity or entity that's outside? Like, okay, right, okay, sure. Do you believe in the Big Bang Theory?
I don't necessarily believe in anything, for that's not my approach to knowledge. I approach knowledge with only one desire, to understand it. I do understand the Big Bang, and it is consistent with much of what we observe. So if it's true, it's true. That truth, see, I learned a long time ago. Honestly, not a long time ago, I guess. 5-6 years is not a long time. But I came to an understanding that belief is not the measure by which truth is grounded. I should stop approaching the truth based on my belief. For if I approach truth based on my belief, then without knowing it, I will begin to want reality to be what I want it to be rather than what it is. So I want to give myself the opportunity to see things as they are rather than how I want them to be. If I formulate a belief about something that I have not yet experienced or observed, when I do observe that thing, if it's inconsistent with my belief, something which I've already attached an emotional bond to, it makes it difficult for me to progress. So I want to be the type of man. I want to be the type of man that understands everyone but believes no one. That's my advice. Understand everyone but believe no one.
I completely understand you, brother. So, as scientists currently, in modern day science suggests that the point of existence started off with, with the Big Bang. That's where everything kind of expanded. What do you said? What can you deduce from that? What came before the Big Bang? Have you ever thought of that? Has that ever come to your mind?
Of course. I don't blame you for making that statement. For I already know that you're religious, so of course you're not gonna see the whole.
Take religion out of it. No.
Let's say,
for example, I'm speaking to you.
I need to consider who it is I'm talking to, and how their mind is working as I'm communicating with you. You see, science doesn't say literally in the literal sense that existence begins with the Big Bang. No, that's not what science really says in the bulk of all its knowledge and in the bulk of all human curiosity and the desire to know. It is the horizon of our observation. It is the point where the clouds touch the mountains. What you reach out for, but the closer you get to it, you never get a grasp of it. But as you get closer to it, you realize that it goes further and further. It is our closest point of observation. We do not have the tools to observe beyond that. We formulated multiple theories consistent with what we see. Because your question is very relevant. What was before the Big Bang? The Big Bang couldn't have been had there not been something. What it is has to be consistent with what the Big Bang is. That's what I'm saying.
So
And
what do you deduce from the Big Bang and what came before it?
I hold my religious brothers and sisters in contempt, or those who have religious ideologies in contempt, when they then assume that, oh, since we don't know yet, it must be an all-powerful, all-knowing, omnipresent, omnipotent being. I say, you, my friend, are a lazy thinker if you think like that. Why don't you follow the same line of reasoning that got you to the Big Bang in the first place? Because we didn't always know about the Big Bang. Ask the Big Bang. So if you're going to follow that clear line of investigation, don't jump to conclusions until all the evidence is solid and on the table.
Hold on. 1 second, bro. The reason as to why I'm asking that, it's a simple question, and I've got a reason behind it. For there to be a starting point, which is obviously assigned to say the Big Bang.
No, that's not what science says. That's not what science says. Science doesn't say that the Big Bang is the starting point.
For the
That's what I'm
most
saying
part,
to you.
science says
Sir.
that marks the point of existence. As
No,
we know
sir.
it. That's for the most part.
No, sir. That's not what it's saying. Science is saying that the Big Bang is the horizon of our observation. That's what science is saying. We expect to find out
Okay,
more.
that's fine. Whatever.
We expect
Okay.
we expect to find out more. So science doesn't say that void of any expectations to continue its investigation. It's not a conclusive statement in court where the verdict needs to be passed. No. Say, hey, detective, what point are you in your investigation? I'm at the Big Bang. That's what I know so far. But I'm still investigating. That's what science says. And you have to have a collective understanding of all branches of science as it relates to that specific matter to understand the conclusion I'm making. When you put it like that, when you say that existence started at the Big Bang, you've drawn a solid line. You've put a wall right there. But that's not the claim science makes. Science never has made that claim. Some people might get up and vocalize such claims, like the man who said the atom was indivisible. Another man had to keep looking, because if you believe that the atom is indivisible, why would you go and try to divide it? It never was a consensus that the atom was indivisible. So we keep looking, we keep trying until, oh, look, the atom has now been split. Keep going further. That is the nature of human curiosity, human investigation, and that's how human beings find truth.
Sure. And I ask you, Bakanga, do you think that we can have an infinite regression of contingencies? Can we have an infinite regression of certain contingencies going all the way back infinitely? Do you think that's possible?
It's okay. Yeah. We do have an infinite regression, but let me help you out a little bit.
We do have an infinite regression. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Let me help you out. Because you use a word that has fundamentally handicapped your ability to understand that. The regression is not backwards. The regression is in every direction from a central point. The central point is this present moment. Whatever direction you conceptualize from this present moment, you will proceed in an infinitely regressive way. You reach no end. Hence, the true beginning is always going to be the present moment. That's enlightenment, if you can understand what I just said.
That's circular reasoning. That doesn't make sense.
I want you to explain exactly how that was
a fallacy as well.
Explain exactly how that was a fallacy and how that was circular. Don't just make the claim. Give us a good breakdown.
Sure.
Of how that is circular.
From what I understood, you tried to relate two different areas, two different subjects that you're basically trying to say that for there to be a infinite regression, that means that we're not going back. That would mean it will be going forward, and hence why we're living in a current state, which is a past. And you just basically try to mix two things up. It does not make any sense.
I do not blame you for your lack of understanding, my brother. Let me ask you something. When you say the word infinite regression, are you saying it void of a starting point of observation?
We regress. Do you know what when I say what regress? Do you know what I mean when I say regress?
Of course, means you proceed in a specific direction continuously from where you are. Listen, from where you are. So listen carefully. People who look at time in terms of progression and regression as linear are people who do not understand our reality, sadly so. Wise men Throughout all of time, I've always told you, everything goes in circles. Everything goes in circles. Wisdom, simple wisdom, yet mostly ignored. When you think of the regression, do not think of it linearly. I had a guest that came on my show a few days ago and I gave him a demonstration. Okay? If I draw a circle, please pay attention to this, brother, and answer my question.
Yeah, go on.
I'm going to give you a simple demonstration. It's something I do all the time. So if you've been on my show before, you've seen this.
Right, okay.
This is us right
something
here.
that appears to be a circle with several points.
This is us right here in our present moment.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which direction you go. You can call this direction future, past. You can call this the direction future, past. It don't matter to me. Tell me where this circle began, where I started drawing the circle.
I don't know.
How many times does this man have to go around this circle to find out where the circle began?
I don't know.
When I say infinite regression,
like what concept are you trying to like?
Regression. I'm trying to show you regression. When I say regression, I'm telling you that you would go around and it's actually more possible that you come back to where you were before you ever find the beginning. That is the nature of our reality.
But that would
listen, bro.
That would describe a cyclic. Existence of the universe.
Not just the
that
existence.
The universe is cyclic.
Listen.
Are you aware of the cyclic concept of the universe?
I want you to understand that here we are talking on the basis of conceptualization. For you and I cannot travel through time. Whatever we talk about the past is always just going to be conceptualizing. When we talk about the future, which is not yet, it's always going to be conceptualizing. That is why the number one prerequisite to conceptualize is to be present. You have to be a real, thinking, normal being that can think in the present moment to conceptualize. And that present moment represents where you are right here in this circle, And I'm telling you that when your brain begins to conceptualize a regression, you will conceptualize in circles and you will never find a beginning point. That's how reality is structured.
Do you believe the universe? Okay, I understand you. I don't agree with you though. Do you believe the universe is infinite?
Has anyone ever measured the dimensions of the universe? Can anyone tell us how big it is?
I'm asking you specifically. Do you believe the universe is infinite?
By nature, it is infinite. Unquantifiable, unqualifiable. It is a vast, never-ending expanse. It's the same idea as a bottomless pit. Our existence is a bottomless pit. Existence is a bottomless pit.
Relevance
is only in the present moment.
The second rule of thermodynamics. You disagree with the second rule of thermodynamics then?
The rule of thermodynamics only applies to a specific element of the universe, which is matter, energy. But space in of itself is part of the universe. The expanse within which energy is contained is part of the universe, and this expanse is immeasurable, unquantifiable. It is literally a bottomless pit. Unless you can conceptualize nothing, then that would be what would be outside the universe. Everywhere where there is a something, everywhere where there is a something or a someone at any point is the universe. So even if you remove what we would consider our local universe and there's only God, God's very existence still falls under the category of what should be called universe. Universal means...
I think you're using...
Go ahead.
I think you're using... obviously, you're when I ask you a specific direct question, you use certain words and certain descriptions that, if I'm being completely honest, it's infallible and it goes against the structure of the argument.
Meaning. Words
So you
have
have certain
meaning.
definitions that you have certain definitions that you attach to obviously your
I do
answers.
not attach
And
any
they're not
definitions.
related. They're not related. They're not related.
Okay.
You're not speaking scientific
Corbin,
terms.
no,
You're using
Corbin,
your own conceptualized terms.
bro.
You're not using.
Corbin.
I've asked you specific science question.
No, listen. Corbin has put it in the comment section. Corbin has done a good job. He's put it in a way that I should. Universe is synonymous with everything. Do you understand that? Everything, everyone, everywhere, every time. You cannot have just a union. The moment where you remove something from everything, you're no longer talking about universe. The universe will be the union of all things that are, that were, and that will be. Union, universal. That is the context, and you do not use the word universal in any other context other than all encompassing. All persons, all entities, all beings, all existences, all times, all places. That's why the most ridiculous thing a religious person ever said was, God is outside the universe. You literally just claim that God doesn't exist. The only things that would be outside of everything are things that never existed to begin with. It's not that complicated.
You have. Well, I know I understand what you're saying, but I just disagree, especially with your last argument.
It's okay to disagree.
For God to be outside of look, 1 second. For God to be outside of the universe, you're essentially saying that God doesn't exist by that standard.
Yes,
How
things
you
that are.
You already mentioned. 1 second. You've already mentioned that you can't prove or disprove anything outside of your 5 sensory experiences, correct? So how would you know what's outside of the universe in order to, let's say, categorize whether God exists or not?
I'm saying to you, I'm not going based on observation in this one. I'm just going based on definition.
Yeah.
You proved
my point.
Listen. The moment you define something as all-encompassing, you can't have an outside of it. That's a logical claim. The moment
How do you know a multiverse doesn't exist? How do you know there's only one universe?
The combination of all multiverses will still make a singular universe. Combine all the verses.
Absolutely not.
Yes. If there's multiverses, listen, the universe will be greater than the multiverse. Universe is unified. You unify all verses, you get universe. You divide the verses into different sections, you have dimensions, right? The idea of the multiverse is inferior to the idea of the universe. Universe is all encompassing. You combine the existence, the essence of all these things together, you get a singular bulk made up of different elements at different points in times, in different shapes and forms. Universe. You see, I think it's very sad, and our religious people have not been done justice. For you have fallen in love with religious narratives, so now when you go into the world, you're not trying to see the world as it is. You're trying to make it match what you already believe. So you're always going to run into roadblocks. You're always going to run into roadblocks that you cannot overcome without justifying it based on what you already believe. That's why I said to you, you've already imagined that there is a God. So even if you were to observe the world and there was no God, you wouldn't be able to accept it. You will spend the rest of your existence trying to make God real. The existence, God has described, especially from the Judeo-Christian perspective, if there was such a being, you wouldn't need one man to tell another man about that person's existence. Hell no. If God existed as described by the Abrahamic people, it would not be a subject of conversation. Just like we don't argue about the existence of the sun. It will be obvious at the genetic level. At the genetic level. It will not be a matter of belief. It will be unbelievable beyond belief. You see, the relationship between truth and belief is that most truth are unbelievable. Most lies are believable. That's why lies are a very effective tool when it comes to control and manipulation. The lie is what is easily believable. If you want to manipulate someone, you have to give them what they can believe. If you want to manipulate someone, you come to them with something they cannot believe, you cannot control them. You've lost that person. And because there was a need to rule over uncivilized human beings, the wisest among us fabricated tales using certain small elements of reality to keep the people in check. But we're now in an age of information. Information technology has sprouted its branches. It's produced leaves. It's even bearing fruit.
Yeah, so you said a lot of things there, and I kind of want to first attack one statement that you just mentioned. You've tried to essentially conceptualize the notion that we as humans, if God did truly exist, it would already, we would inherently already know without any proof of evidence. I just want to, is that correct? Is that what you just mentioned?
A necessary
I just
being,
want
a necessary being
Yeah.
would be necessary evident to all beings.
right,
without
and we would
need-
inherently
without need for
already have
persuasion.
the belief in our system
Not a belief,
without any persuasion, yeah?
not a belief, a knowing.
And knowing, yeah, sure.
Yeah, so it
Right.
would not be a matter of opinion. It wouldn't even be a subject of conversation, like I said.
For something
We do not
so how-
argue if breathing is necessary. We do not even argue if breathing is real, if hunger is real, if thirst is real. Such things are inherently, like when a dog is thirsty, he knows to go and look for water. When a goat is hungry, he knows to go and look for food. Just like me, just like you, just like all other conscious beings. Even the plants will stretch its roots and its branches and seeking nourishment. Hunger is not something that we argue about. It is very real. It's a conceptual idea that when observed is consistent with reality. The ideas of God
Right, sure. Would you?
is born out of the imagination
yeah.
of man.
Okay, cool. What I was trying to get at is there are certain studies out there, like basically, just to sum it up, there's certain studies that's been done on rural tribes that are, they're basically outside of society, right? And what they basically found out that like the young children in those societies, the one that haven't been taught anything regarding God, they basically found that these children essentially have a belief in a deity of some sort.
Bullshit.
What? There's a study out there. Look it up. I don't know exactly the name of the
Brother,
study.
brother,
but
with all
there's
due
been studies that have
respect.
been found that come to that conclusion.
No, that's BS. That's BS. That's like literally BS. Like whoever did that study needs to be arrested and locked up for lying. We were all children. That's not an experience that we all did not have. Children are not born with any inherent beliefs. You adopt your beliefs from your society. The children can be born with inherent knowledge, genetic, physical knowledge that's dependent on your physical body. Yeah, but you're not born with any inherent concepts, and the conceptualization of children is lacking due to their lack of experience with the world. So their minds usually wander into exaggerations and hyperboles, personifications due to their lack of knowledge and data. It's quite gullible. That's why when someone says you're childish, that means you're gullible. You're thinking like someone who knows nothing. Children know nothing of what they've not experienced. Anyone who did that study and made that claim is a religious propagandist. Fabricating
To be fair,
pseudoscience.
you could be right. Me personally, I have an open mind. You could most likely be right, and obviously
Brother, let me say something that you might actually
it's
like.
subject to interpretation.
Yeah, let me tell you something that you might
sure.
actually like. You see, there's this assumption that those of us who say there is no God, like we have a problem with a God if that God existed. Nah. First of all, when you tell me that there could be an omniscient being, all-knowing, and then that being is also all-powerful, and that being is also omnipresent everywhere. Why the fuck do I have to go out of my way to look for such a being? Nah, the burden of seeking out is that being. That being needs to look for me. If that being is not already evident without even effort, then I'm chasing smoke. Now, if there is such a being that exists and that being has not yet knocked on my door and presented himself to me within the faculties of my understanding, why I am not 100% at least, but mostly sober-minded, because our emotions affect our state of mind. If that being hasn't deemed it necessary to present himself, then my existence doesn't depend on me acknowledging the existence of such a being. So any man that comes up to me and tells me that I am compelled to acknowledge a being who doesn't care to make it clear that he wants to be acknowledged directly to me is trying to scam me. So if God exists and I'm going to meet God on Judgment Day, when I see God, I'll say, hey, hi, nice to meet you. Literally. Hey, hi, nice to meet you. Because you can't tell me that you're all powerful and so smart that you put me in a world with thousands of conceptualization, thousands of claims of which way man should walk. And you expected me to gamble with my brain. Why were you torturing me? And then just to show yourself on the day when it's time for you to send me to go and burn in fire? That's stupid. That's not consistent with an all-knowing being. God has nothing to gain or lose by showing himself to me right now the same way he will show himself on Judgment Day. If he hasn't done it, it's because he doesn't want to, and he doesn't need to, and I don't need to. So all these men who are coming over here making all these God claims, they're liars. Because the God as they have defined it is not consistent with what that God would do as a reasonable person. Yeah, I'm not joining Mohammed's club or joining Buddha's club or joining Jesus' club. Okay? Why can a God who created all of existence without anyone's help need someone's help to convince me that he exists? So you're telling me God had the power to create the entire universe, but God doesn't have the power to come up to me face to face and persuade me himself? Bullshit. Now when he wants to persuade me, he comes to the Jehovah Witness, to the Catholic, to the Sunni, to the Shiite, to the Buddhist, to the Mormons, to the Baptist, to the Presbyterian. How the fuck am I supposed to figure that shit out? And they are all passionate about what they're claiming, making contradictory claims, all claiming to be right. No. I exercise caution. I'm actually interested to know the real truth, not what you feel like is true.
I mean, to be fair, I have an open mind, and obviously I'm still in the midst of obviously learning these concepts, but we're going to have to agree to disagree here.
Yeah, we can agree to
disagree. With some of
disagree.
your points. I think you made substantiate. Yeah, I think you made some certain substantiated claims, but you need to there's certain claims that you've made that science hasn't substantiated yet. So
it's possible. It's possible. Of course.
Yeah.
There's no harm in that. But you want to know before you go, bro?
You
let me tell you the glue that glues you and I, my brother. Let me tell you where you and I can sit down and break bread and drink wine and drink tea or coffee, whatever you drink, wherever you are. At the end of the day, isn't the goal of all this ideology and conceptualization us finding more efficient ways to govern our conduct and how we treat each other? Isn't that the end game anyways? We seek all this knowledge to make ourselves wiser so we can treat each other the best possible way. So though we may disagree, I say treat me in the best possible way that you know, and I will treat you in the best possible way that I know.
Sure. Yeah, we can definitely peacefully coexist. If
we find a common enemy, then we have a common reason to fight. If you're my ally and I'm attacked, come to my rescue. If I'm your ally and you're attacked, I'll come to your rescue. There are certain subjects that we do not need to agree on in order to be each other's allies. And I think that our common humanity has made us allies by birth. There should be no ideology that can make us enemies. Nothing ever conjured up in the head of man should make us enemies. You as my fellow sentient
As long
being.
as you agree with a certain set of principles, yeah.
No,
Sure.
it's not a matter of agreement or disagreement. You know how they say, there's this old saying that says blood is thicker than water? Yeah, blood is thicker than water. If you bleed red and I bleed red, we were born allies. We are on the same team. That's the
Why don't you
ground.
tell that to yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Hopefully we can
I
apply
say
this
that to the
concept.
atheists, I say that to the theists,
Tell-
I say that to all these freaking human beings listening to me right
Tell
now.
it to the Zionists. But I'm not going to bring that to this platform.
Listen.
It's going to get bananas.
Listen. The Zionists especially needs to learn that.
Great.
Of course.
Sure. Great. Yeah. It's been good speaking to you.
Any
man. And,
group of people who claims to be God's chosen people, you should suspect them. Up to something.
yeah. Sure.
Yeah, because if we are people and God made all of us, how can you then be more of God's people than another group? Makes no sense. Thank you for your time, brother.
All right, bro. Have a good day, man.
You too. Ladies and gentlemen, I already know that you guys want me to continue my show, but I had a long day. As you can see, my eyes are red. My body is fatigued. It is time for me to go and sleep. Then upon waking up, I will go to work. I'll put in 10 hours. Then I'll go to my side gig, make extra money. And if tomorrow ever comes for me, I can only hope that I will come live again. Until next time, my friends. Bakanga, the Bakangalizer, the one who will reorganize your mentality. Overcome your fears, your shame, and your guilt, and you would find that you need not worship anyone nor bow to anyone. Overcome your fear, your shame, and your guilt, and you would soon find that you need not bow nor worship anyone. If you worship, do it for your pleasure. If you bow, do it for your pleasure. But never should it be a matter of necessity or obligation. You're free to bow, but don't bow as a slave. You would find it better to stand up on your two legs. This is the truth, the truth that will set you free. When you were taught your religious indoctrination, this truth that I now bring to you was never put on the table. You only had one choice of meal. Now I am giving you another dish with multiple delicious delicates. God is imaginary. It doesn't mean you should love God any less. You can love God in the exact same way, even if God was imaginary. If you can't love God in the exact same way, though God is imaginary, that means your love for God right now is sketchy, fake. In the same way, if God was not real and you can still remain the good person that you are, that means you're believing God and your claim to be a good person is a false claim. Thank you for your time, my brothers and sisters. I will see you next time. Bakanga is